And we are recording. All right. Welcome back, everybody, to episode 30. Yeah, 30 of the Bore and Stoke podcast, brought to you by the all-new Honda CRF 450R. And as we always do, without further ado, let's hear a little bit more about that bike. On the starting gate, heart rates rise, engines rev, expectations build. But on the all-new 2027 Honda CRF 450R, all that pressure goes away. That's because it's lighter with a wider, more usable power curve that can help late in motos. Developed with direct input from the factory Honda HRC race team, it gives you the confidence to lead every lap. You're listening to Bore and Stoke, brought to you by Honda Powersports and the 2027 CRF 450R. So good, your only competition is yourself. All right, we are back, folks. And as you know, as I hope you know, the even-numbered podcasts we do here at Bore and Stoke come with a guest that we talk to, have a chat with, and usually have a good time with. And the guest I have on this episode is a good one. But before I get to our guest, let me take a moment to remind you guys that since this is episode 30, that also means that we have 29 other episodes we've done before. And if you haven't caught those episodes, be sure to do that. Like I said, the even-numbered episodes, we have a special guest that we talk to, and the odd-numbered episodes usually feature the crew, myself, Ryan, Dennis, talking about happenings in the moto industry, just things that are on our mind about motorcycles or the industry in general. So interesting, hopefully intriguing conversations that will hopefully rope you in and get you engaged on two wheels. So with that, let's not waste any more time, people, because the guest we have is a very dear friend of mine, and you may or may not know him, but if you've learned anything about riding technique over the past, 20 odd years, there's a good chance you've learned it from this fella. World-renowned riding coach, excellent motorcycle rider, has penned some excellent journalism in motorcycle magazines in the past. I could go on and on. This individual has had a big impact on my motorcycle riding and my motorcycle journalism career. So it's been a double whammy of stuff, and I'm forever grateful for his friendship and for his mentorship and for his tutorship. With that, ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome none other than Nick Ienatsch to the Bore and Stoke podcast. There he is. Hey,
Hi,
Nick.
How are you? I like the mutton chops. You got the Ryan Burke look going.
You know, yeah. I grew them as a Halloween stunt.
Yeah.
Maybe 20 odd years ago. And no one said anything about it. So I
like them. We always tell Burke you got to carve a little number one in the mutton chop. So think about carving something in there. People will notice then.
Well, then I have to live up to it.
Yeah, sure.
And
well, you do a pretty good job of that. So
thank you. I learned from the best.
Well,
Nick Ienatsch, everybody. I think he's wearing the T-shirt right there that says Yamaha Champions Riding School.
Come on.
Yeah, Nick, where are you talking to us from right now?
I'm in southern Colorado, and we're about, it's right during the middle of this Aspen Acres wildfire, 93,000 acres consumed so far, and we're literally a mile away from mandatory evacuation. We just happen to be on the east side of the freeway, and the west side of the freeway in our area has been evacuated. It's not caught on fire, but it's close. So anyway, it's nice to escape and talk to you, Troy, and get away from the drama that's been happening around here, and motorcycling. I know you and I've talked about this over the years, what a great getaway it is, and what a pure focused joy it is. And a lot of people call motorcycle riding helmet therapy. So it's nice to get away with you and talk about this stuff.
I don't want to dwell on the fires, but I'm assuming the winds right now are taking things away from where you are.
Yeah, exactly. It's just been a blessing. The wind has stayed heading north, west, basically. And we're east, and there's still a freeway it's got to cross if it came and consumed that 2 or 3 miles. But it's tough, and you and I've talked about the fire that consumed your home.
Yeah.
And it's a tough situation. We're motorcyclists generally, especially by the time you're racing, you're you're so into controlling your environment and making sure your environment goes well, and having a lot of plans to make it go well, to where Mother Nature steps in through hurricanes or tidal waves or earthquakes, whatever, in this case fire. It is a tough deal because we're used to fixing things, right?
You're used to being in control.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is something completely out of your control.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I hope everything goes okay for you guys. Not to make a joke out of this, but in the event this podcast is cut short because you have to bail.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll show you. It'll be right out that window right there. So
dear viewer and listener.
We have an enormous amount of respect and appreciation for the firefighters in this area. I don't know if any of them ride motorcycles, listen to this, but man, those guys and gals are killing it. They have kept it away from my local town here, and they have just fought tooth and nail for a week. And so they're on the gas, and I take everything to the Lord, and I ask the Lord for guidance and everything, and I thank the Lord for what He's done to help my family and my neighbors stay safe. So, yeah.
All the best to you. Hopefully everything turns out well. And do they have a percentage of containment yet?
13%.
Okay. Do they? You never know with these situations, but how do they feel about everything?
Well, they have done a fantastic job with helicopters and jet airplanes and prop airplanes dropping. They pick up in Pueblo Reservoir and drop here. They have bulldozers out there making fire lines. So they truly are killing it. I mean, they are really doing a great job. We all pay taxes, and sometimes we wonder why we pay taxes and should we be paying taxes? But in this case, man, I am super happy, and I just I can't thank them enough. And in the next little while, I'm going to make sure I take care of our firefighters in this area because they've done an amazing job.
Awesome. Well, let's take at least an hour or so, hopefully, to not talk about scary things like fires and some more lighthearted topics like motorcycles.
Yes, let's do it.
Man, our history goes back quite a ways, but it's not about me, it's about you. So let's start with some easy ones. Like what have you ridden lately? Where have you been lately? What's been happening with you? What's new? What's fun?
Well, I ride a bike every day, and it'll surprise people that the most ridden bike in my particular garage is a Zero. It's a Zero FXS, the super motard bike. And I live on a little ranch out here in Colorado, and I ride my bike every day. My wife rides a Sur-Ron every day, a little light B Sur-Ron. Yeah. And there's some downsides to electric things. Like, for instance, I can't really ride it into town 20 miles on the freeway and get back with any battery. So there's some downsides to it, but that's my Zero and Judy's Sur-Rons. They are fantastic for this type of life where your barn, my barn's a little ways away. The front gate is a half a mile away. So I can jump on this electric bike and buzz down there. So we laugh because we've quit walking. We jump, we ride our electric bikes everywhere. And I can lead my horse with my left hand on a rope and ride my electric bike. The electric bike doesn't stink. It doesn't scare them. Yep. Yesterday I carried a whole bunch of stuff between the two places, because you got your left hand free. It's incredibly good. I mean, I'm so impressed. I'm impressed with the Zero. The Zero boys and girls have all been to our school, so I know them. But this Zero FXS was a gift given to me by Jim, and I won't say his last name because he didn't want any. But he bought a Zero, and he lives in Chicago, and he said, "Man, this thing is fantastic. Why don't you? I'm going to send this to you. You ride it, and just see what you think." And he sent me a brand new Zero. He's a graduate of our school. He went racing because of our school, and the school did a lot for his life. And he sent me a brand new Zero. And Troy, when I got the Zero, I was like, I don't want electric bike. I want a motor. I want oil. I want hassle. But so anyway, I'm laughing with you because I think the last time I saw you race was at Barber, and I was watching from the up on the grandstands there at the start-finish line, and the green flag flew, and here goes Troy, everybody, from like the 8th row to the front, and led until your battery depleted. I think it was amazing. So that's why I told you I'm riding at zero quite a bit. Other than that, I'm riding. I've got an MT10 and I got a HP2 BMW HP2 that's pretty cool, and I got some old GSXRs and all that stuff. But the last thing I rode in anger was a Aprilia 660 RS 660 and a 660 Tuono factory that I was blown away with how good they are. I just loved it. I was up there at High Plains last week. So anyway, that's what I do, and I race an FCR 600. So that's what I've been on lately.
Have you seen the Zeros with the front trunk? It's the what is it? The Zero. Oh my gosh, they're gonna kill me about this.
Yeah.
The Zero S or DS, I believe. It's the bigger bike from the one you have. Oh my gosh, I'm totally
only in pictures. Oh, have you ridden one?
It's been a while, but yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm totally forgetting the name of the model now.
You're fired.
I know, this is terrible. But yeah, it's a full size, like little, not little. I guess you could call it an adventure, like a little adventure bike-ish Zero.
Yeah.
And where the fuel tank is a trunk.
That's a great idea.
You can put like a sandwich in there, a drink, whatever. You can reach in there while you're riding and like grab a sandwich out, flip up your flip up helmet and like take a bite as you're going down the road. It's great.
Perfect. Eat and ride. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I'm super impressed. We have one of our instructors has a big size Zero and hauls ass on them. I'm really impressed, and there's definitely a place for them. And for if anybody's in the city or got a situation like I have, I mean, it's just fantastic. And Troy, it's kind of crazy how when you hear about electric bikes and you hear they're maintenance free, it's kind of crazy how much maintenance we put into our gas powered bikes. I mean, we're always checking the fuel, we're changing the oil, we're doing all these things. The Zero has a belt. I don't even look at it. I think I've adjusted it once. And every now and again, I remember to check the air pressure. But other than that, man, I am so impressed. It is super fun. I put dirt track wheels on it because my buddy had a half mile up here. And we found that we could run my Zero around that half mile any time of the day because it was so quiet. So this electric idea, you've been to electric go-karts where you can run them indoors. Yeah. So there's some really cool things happening, and maybe dirt tracking will be changed a little bit by these electric bikes once they get them a little bit lighter, blah blah blah. But I think I'm impressed more than I thought.
We should get you on the electric bike that I rode.
We should.
I'm wearing the hat. I mean,
saw that.
I mean, they're doing demos all around. I mean, it's so you would know better than most how a prototype motorcycle built for a purpose will blow the doors off of any production bike out there. Yeah. That's what the Light Fighter is. And I mean, when you saw me at Barber on an earlier iteration of the Light Fighter, and you mentioned it ran out of battery, we had that thing dialed in just right. I crossed the checkered flag right when the battery died.
That's pretty good.
So that's
pretty good.
That's exactly the amount of energy we needed.
Yes. Now, did you go slower during the race? Did it slow down on you?
The last lap.
Okay, because I kind of remember that. I remember talking to you about it afterward, and that was the next step, is to get it last a little bit longer.
Yeah, but I mean, that was a couple of years ago at this point. Now it can do a club race. I mean, it's on the Moto America grid now, so I mean, it can do it. Oh yeah, it can do the full amount with a little bit to spare, so you can come back to the pits and have a burnout.
And did you do a warm up lap?
When I was doing it, we had that battery wound so tight. Well, we had our parameters so focused that no warm-up lap. Everybody would go do their warm-up lap. I had to be the last person out there, and I told the grid marshal, like, I'm just going to go to my spot.
Yep.
I'm going to start from there, go do our laps, cross the checkered flag, and that was it.
Done. Yeah, push it off.
Yeah.
Well, that's like Matt Mladen. Matt Mladen used to, tell me that he would beat on his bike so hard he wanted it to break on the last lap. He wanted it to, cool off lap. He wanted to build it to the point where things popped on the cool off lap.
Oh
And
my
that's, I mean, truly, and if you remember how he rode, I mean, he rode that way. He rode like, I'm going to use this thing up. Pretty cool.
His dominance
Yeah.
was unprecedented until
Yep.
Ben came around.
Yep.
Yeah. Um, so the funny thing, or not the funny thing, but the thing I want to talk about with you is, I mean, you're known to a lot of people as the coach, Yamaha Champ School coach. A lot of your most recent showings, I guess. I guess social media has done a lot for you and the school, and that's where people know you from. But I know you from a whole different place. I
Yeah.
mean, you were at Sport Rider. You started Sport Rider. I got my start through that magazine. But let's go further back than that. I mean, where did the motorcycling bug come from for you?
Well, before I was born, my dad had motorcycles. So my brother and I were born two motorcycles, and we've got pictures of us riding on the gas tank as little, chilled babies. And so my dad always had bikes, and that really helped. My friends tell me they didn't get a bike till they were moved out of the house, and I don't know what your situation was, but man,
Same.
I felt sorry for him because my dad bought me a dirt bike when I was 12. My mom and dad, both into it, and my dad would take me over to the gully and have me ride around on this dirt bike, and just it's just always part of my life, and never considered it wouldn't be that it wouldn't be part of my life. And when I was 16, I got an XT 600 or 500, XT 500 with a Kickstarter. So I was 120 pounds, whatever, trying to kickstart this XT 500. But so I started riding on the street when I was 16, and then when I was 18, I got a GS 1000S West Cooley,
Sure.
and started working at the Suzuki shop in Salt Lake City, Utah. I was going to the University of Utah, so I was an English major and working at a bike shop, and riding motorcycles everywhere, riding in the snow. I mean, just rode motorcycles everywhere. And it was, I mean, I was either riding motorcycles or working in a motorcycle shop or skiing. And in between all that, I went to school. So it was just, it was just incredibly bad. So, and then when I was 23 or so, I had written to the magazines, and Art Friedman at Motorcyclist kept my letter for months, and finally wrote kind of a form letter to people who had sent a letter in, and I just knew that was my life, and that's how it changed. And Art Friedman somehow hired me, and that's how it changed. So I was 24 years old when I moved to LA to work for Motorcyclist.
Was racing part of your life back then?
No, and it was not. And in Salt Lake, there was only two guys that I knew that had ever done a track day. They'd gone to the California Superbike School in Southern California, and they rode Ducatis, and they were the big know-it-alls and good guys. I mean, really good dudes. But I started riding with them in the canyons on my 1000S, but I didn't know anything about racing. We had pictures of Wes Cooley on the wall at the Suzuki shop on his 1000S. So it was part of the aura of motorcycling, but it was well beyond me. Then in probably 81 or 2, I was working at the bike shop, and I saw in Rider magazine that there was going to be a street race in Colorado, and I was like, oh, I should do this. So this will make you laugh. So I had a 1000 Katana at the time, and I had done it all up. I'd put a 16-inch front end on it. I'd painted the frame red, the body white. All of our friends, Walt Allen, painted all of our bikes. We all had Mitch Bame, all these guys, right? We all had basically white bikes with red frames for some reason. That's what we liked. So I had a red frame Katana with white bodywork, 16-inch front end, ported head, pipe, right? So all the things done. So there's going to be a Steamboat Springs road race in Colorado. So I go study how to prep your bike, and it said you have to tape your lights. So I literally taped my turn signals, right? And I took white pinstriping, like 1/8 inch white pinstriping, and I painstakingly pinstriped my tail light, my brake light on my Katana. I didn't know what they meant. Tape your light. I didn't know. So here I show up with my friend George McQuiston and his mother she went with us, and we show up in Steamboat Springs with my 1000 Katana, and we're in a little blue Toyota pickup truck, and we unload it. I can imagine what people thought, because the MRA was a very high end road race. I mean, these
Sure.
guys around here have their stuff together. It's where Ricky Orlando came from.
Yeah.
All these top guys, right? So I can imagine them seeing some little kid from Salt Lake City unloading his 1,000 katana with his pinstripe tail section, and my rear number plate was held on with a piece of wood. I just took a piece of wood and I put it across the top of my seat, and I screwed my number plates into it, and I painted the wood white to match the bike. You know what I mean? It was just
Naturally.
like, oh, it was just so off I went, and they let me enter the novice race, and I did, and I won the novice race, or I got second, I can't remember which, and they let me enter the expert race then because I won the novice race, and I crashed in the expert race in the rain. I just low sided the front on the brakes, but dude, I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything. I might have had some type of a natural skill because I've been street riding for so long, but I didn't know anything. And to I guess the story to me is anybody out there who feels like they want to go road racing and doesn't know anything, you are already ahead of me. So you already know more than I do. Most people would take off their turn signals. No, not me. I taped them. So
Right.
it was like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I mean, then what?
Yeah.
From that clearly led to something. How did your racing bug progress from there?
Yeah, it was well. So I get hired at Motorcyclist, and truly am surrounded by people who are racing. Art Friedman, way into racing. They'd done lots of stories on racing. They entered the 24 hours of Nelson Ledges every year. Those are the articles that I would love to read. And Jeff Carr was there. He was racing. Ken Vricky had just left. He was racing. They had written about racing. It was a huge deal. Brent Ross was there. He was racing. So I entered this group of super fast guys, and you were there. You were a young journalist showing up at the track with some of these journalists, right, that go so fast. And so I'd go to the track for the tests and with the magazine, and these guys were so fast, and they were fast because they were doing things correctly. They weren't just turn off their brains. You cannot be a journalist, in my opinion, a respected journalist or even an old journalist and crash a lot. And these guys did not crash a lot. They were really focused on how to do this well. And of course, that just rubbed off on me. My dad was an engineer, a mining engineer. So he had this very much engineering approach to life. And so that just kind of fit right in with what Art Friedman and the boys were doing, Dexter Ford. Mm-hmm. So it just fit right in. So I would go to these track days, these tests that we used to do back in the day, and just get my clock cleaned and work on it, think about it, work on it, and watch and talk. And that's how it went. So then what really happened was Dennis Smith. Do you remember him? Do you remember Dennis Smith?
The name rings a bell, but I can't put a face to it.
Okay, so great big huge gigantic guy, became one of my best friends, motocrosser but super fast road racer. I mean, super fast at Willow, just really ran, one of the top national guys, privateer national guys. So he owned Cycle Tune, and that later became Vance and Hines Performance Center. But when it was Cycle Tune, he and I met just through the magazines, and he said, why don't you as a journalist come and ride on the 24-hour team with me, Willow Springs 24-hour team. Mm-hmm. And this was with some Randy Renfro, super fast guys, right? And I remember at that time, I had just started the column with Eddie Lawson. It was called Lawson's Lines. And that was a chance to talk to Eddie about his races in real time. I mean, I'd call him in Europe after the races, or if he came home, I would meet him at his house and we would talk about the races, and he would walk us through how the races went. So I remember going to Eddie and telling him that I just got asked to ride in this ride at Willow, this 24-hour, and how nervous I was. I mean, truly, I could see basically dying, and not only dying, but worse, ruining the race for the team, right? I could totally see me, wadding the thing and just screwed up. I had not been racing, but it went well, mainly because Eddie really, he really understood, and he really sat me down. A lot of the things, Troy, that you heard at the school came from Eddie Lawson, came from those conversations we had before I raced the 24-hour, because I was so nervous, and how he was so technical and so not emotional. And he said, you do this, this, and this, you don't do that. You don't think about what they're doing. You think about your apexes. I mean, all the things that we teach through Champ School, those were conversations with Eddie when I was so nervous to do that. And what do you know? I didn't crash and die and ruin the team at the 24-hour. We ended up winning the 24-hour, and we ended up winning 3 24 hours at Willow Springs
Wow.
through that group. And as of course, as the 24 hours went on, I actually became a part of why we won, as opposed to the reason we didn't lose. Right? I mean, that's kind of what I was at first, but then I just, when you're doing a 24-hour, you have every lap time. So every time you go by the pit, you get your lap time. So now you start to mess with gearing, lines, body position, all the things that you can mess with, because for 1 hour you get your lap time. And I'm a big fan of endurance racing, obviously, but that really helped me think about everything I was doing.
Go more into that. I mean,
Yeah.
did you or still to this day, do you consider yourself, when especially when you were competing, were you racing the other people or were you racing yourself?
I'd like to say I was racing myself, but you've done it enough to know that that's too theoretical. It's just too theoretical
Mm.
that you are, one half or 3/4 of your brain, in my opinion, is constantly reviewing what you just did. You're constantly reviewing what you just did. Literally, as you get to be good at this, and everybody who's starting out, think about what will happen to you if you stay healthy. As you start to get good at this, you remember last lap I broke a little too early for turn one. I got into the corner a little bit bored. I didn't have a lot of load on the front. Last lap, I missed my downshift into 3, got in there in the taller gear, had to downshift mid corner. You start to, and you're nodding your head because you start to become that rider where you're just always thinking about what you just did. But there's part of your brain, I think, I'm not at the top level, but at the top level, or the times I've had good races, where you are pissed off. You want to beat these people. Matt Mladen used to say they're taking food out of my family's mouth. That's the way they are. And some of the best races I've had, some of the best laps I've had, when I am just red hot with anger, frustration, uh, upset at myself. And I talk to my young instructors a lot about racing, to where when you lose, when you get beat, like for me, uh, some of my worst national finishes were 7th, 6th, and 7th, which I know sounds fine. And my wife used to say, "Hey, there's 24 of the people who are really upset. You got 7th, you should be happy." But when you get a 7th, I believe that is what motivates you. And so when people get beat, I do believe that's the motivator. I don't believe you get a lot of motivation when you win. When you win, you don't learn a lot of lessons, possibly, as opposed to when you lose. So when you come off of a crash or off of a beating, like a 7th place, those were my best races after that, because I was so pissed and I was so upset and so unhappy. So that's part of it. The other part of it is, when your life is going really well, uh, that helps you race well. So that's a big part of it. And like, do you remember when people were making fun of John Kaczynski for cleaning his motorhome? I don't know, were you around for that time?
A little bit before my time, but
Yeah,
I've heard the stories.
yeah. So they made fun of John Kaczynski, world champion in Superbike and 250s, for cleaning his motorhome and being obsessively neat freak, whatever. And everyone of us who have raced were like, "Yeah, of course you are." I remember when I was racing at Willow, and that was what, 89, 90. I remember I could not leave for the racetrack unless my truck was clean. And I remember it being a joke with Andy Milton. He was #1 plate holder at Willow 3 times. And I remember we didn't like each other very much back then because we were racing each other every week. But I remember we afterward, as we became friends, it truly was like, who is going to be the loser who shows up at Willow with a dirty truck, right? He had a white Chevy and I had a blue and silver Chevy. And it was truly like, whoever shows up here with a dirty truck, who doesn't give enough caring about their pride and their accomplishments to show up with a dirty truck, they're going to get beat. And so that, isn't that crazy? So when you hear Kaczynski cleaning his motorhome, and that's weird, I was like, boy, you whoever wrote that has never raced a motorcycle, because when your life is going well and you've got things in order, then the racing goes well. And that's one of the things that Lawson was. I mean, he was really, get your life in order, have everything going correctly, or when you do something very, very difficult that'll kill you, you will be more ready. And that's a big part of champ school.
Right. I mean, it extrapolates. If your truck is clean and you're tidy and neat, that corresponds to, well, that means every bolt on your motorcycle is tight.
Got it.
All the things that need to be safety wired have been safety wired. All the parts are where they need to be. There is no second guessing because you've done all the steps already.
Yep. And of course, it could be complete bullshit because, people show up with dirty trucks all the time and they win. But, what's really funny is when, like, Eddie Lawson, who had a huge effect on me, he really did. He has a huge effect on the school. Eddie Lawson would quit drinking on January 1st. And he would drink, alcohol after the race season was over until January 1st that he quit drinking. He felt that was an edge he could have. And so I totally believed in that. I was like, okay, and I didn't drink much anyway. So I wouldn't drink when I was racing. I wouldn't drink. So then one night we go to Saturday night, and it's Saturday night at Willow Springs, and it's the awards banquet for the previous year. And I don't know what the awards were, but I might have got some. I don't remember. But here's my point, is that Andy Milton, became a very good friend of mine, he gets shit-faced. I mean, he drinks. It's Saturday night. We had practice Saturday. It was Sunday race. He gets wasted where he gets carried out by his girlfriend, Laura. And the next day he wins 7 out of 7 races. and so I was like, you mean I've been on the wagon for all this time? And so anyway, that's why I can say it could all be bullshit. You got to do what you got to do. But I found that when some of the best races I've had is when I've been really upset or super, super good with life, and always focused on my riding. I do believe the Lawson principle that he told you through the school is think about your own riding, what you are doing on the bike. I really, truly believe that. And I think the reason that he said that, of course, at that time was because I was so nervous. I was truly nervous. And Eddie said, to paraphrase, he basically said, this is about what you can control. This is about what you can control. So if this is what you can control and you get totally focused on this, that's the message, as opposed to thinking, what if I crash? What if somebody hits me? What if a bike breaks? What if blah, blah, blah? He's like, no, you can't do anything about that. You can do about this. And that's, he's a 4-time world champion, and he has affected certainly me. And luckily I've been able to affect people through the school with that message.
I mean, I'm sure Andy was drunk out of his mind, but his truck was clean.
Yes. See, that's what counts.
No, it's funny. It's funny you say that because I've done a little bit of endurance racing as well, and I've got. I'm not sure if this applies to you as well, but when I was endurance racing, I approached endurance racing as racing myself and the racetrack. I approached sprint racing as I'm trying to beat all of you MFers to the line first. But I remember I did a weekend. Actually, it was in Utah back when they had that. They still have it. The Utah series. I forget what it's called now.
USBA.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I did the endurance series there in 2010 and 2011. Yeah, and they would have the sprints and the endurances on the same weekend. Saturdays were endurance races. Sundays was a sprint. I did the endurance race. I remember I'm just in my own head, like just do your laps. Focus on hitting the apex, doing this, doing that. And if you screw up on that turn, well, the next one is your next chance to correct yourself, blah, blah, blah. Everything went great. The following day on Sunday, it's sprint race time, and it's just go, go, go. And I remember the green flag waves. It's time to go. And I got a gingerly start. Nothing bad, but nothing great.
Yeah.
A couple of bikes are passing me into turn 1, and I'm like, I got time, but it's fine. It's cool. Like, we're just getting into the groove, and I'll chip my way at it as this goes on. And then like half of maybe the incomplete first lap goes by, and suddenly it dawns on me, wait a minute. I only have 5 more laps or whatever it is.
This isn't an hour. Yeah.
Yeah. I've got 5 laps to get my butt in gear and go.
Yeah.
And like by that point, the leader had taken off, and I'm like, crap.
Yeah.
What have I done?
Yeah. Then the emotion takes over.
Yeah. And then it was, and that was when the red mist took over me, and I got pissed at myself for making such a silly mistake. I don't know where I finished, but then I was like, I better get going. I better get moving.
I totally agree with the endurance versus the sprint. As you get older, you'll find ways to go quickly without a lot of risk, and quickly means, whatever you're going to be happy with. And the one thing that I'll do, and some people can shortcut their crashing career. One thing I'll do is, even with a red mist, even racing against people who I really want to beat, I may not personally like them, or I just may want to beat them just because they're on a new bike and I'm not, or whatever the reason is, I truly want to beat them. I will push as hard as I can, red mist and all, pissed off, cussing in my helmet, until I can't get the bike on apex. And at that point, until I rush the corner entry, and if you remember from YCRS, it's one of the 5 reasons we crash a motorcycle, 7 reasons now, rushing corner entry. So I will push and push and push, cuss and swear and do all the things I've got to do, brake later and later, until I can't get the thing in and pointed on apex. When I get it in and I can't quite gather it up, at that point, I will have a talk with myself and say, bring it back. So for those of riders out there who go racing and do track days, and you start to wonder, how do I know a crash is coming? I believe rushing corner entry is the number one leading tale that things are going to go wrong for you pretty soon. Because when you can't get it in, turned, and pointed to drive it off the apex, when you get it into here and you try to drive it here, you're holding lean angle. You should be holding throttle, but a lot of people try to go to more throttle while they hold lean angle. They either lift the front and push it and fall down, or spin the rear. Those are the 2 worst case. You could put it into TC and hurt your drive, but I will push and push and push until I can't get the apex. And then I come back, and I'm still racing ARMA. I raced a couple races in ARMA. Have you done ARMA?
Not this year, okay, or the last. I've taken the past year and a half off.
Yep.
But yeah.
Do you like it?
I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. It's a ton of fun. Yeah. I mean, all those cool bikes. How could you not?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of ARMA. It's AHRMA, ARMA. And if anybody has a feeling like they want to go racing, or they want to come back to racing, man, I am such a fan of ARMA in so many ways. You can race so many neat bikes now, because before, people would say ARMA, you think of a CB160. You're like, well, I don't really want to race a CB160 at this point in my life. But you can run such cool bikes now, such modern bikes. And there's next gen and next gen 2 classes. There's even a couple next gen 3 classes. You can run a 2000 R1. I mean, it's just really a bunch of cool stuff. And so a lot of people from my era have come back to ARMA and are racing ARMA. I'm on an FZR 600, a 1990 model, the same model that I raced at Willow and at a couple nationals. So it's really kind of a neat thing. It's not the same bike, but it's the same model. So even
that was my first bike.
Was it really? Yeah.
My first bike was a 1990 FZR 600.
How old were you?
I was 18 or 19, something like that.
Yeah, screw you. So anyway, I'm a big fan of ARMA. And so you go to ARMA, and if you are a new racer or returning to racing, you have to take their new racers school, which is Friday. And if you pass the school, which means you don't screw up and you're not passing like an idiot, you're not crashing, they let you race the weekend, and then for the rest of the time you get to race. So I am a huge ARMA fan. And if you look at what we're racing for, even almost in club racing and some almost in Moto America, you're not racing for a lot of money like we used to. We used to race for a lot of money. There were some weekends I left Willow Springs with $7,500 in cash or checks, not in Dunlop money or blah, blah, blah. It was cash and checks. It was big money back then. But now we're racing for trophies. So everybody has that in perspective. And everybody shows up at ARMA to just have a really, really fun time, try to get in a couple battles, run some fun laps, be with a bike you really like, be with people you really like. So I'm a big fan, especially for people who are like us, Troy, that you have to go racing. You have to race just in your life. It's part of your life. It's what makes you happy. It's a lot of cool stress. It's super fun. Sunday nights after you've done well are heaven on earth.
Yeah.
So for those of you who have to go racing, prep yourself a motorcycle and come out to ARMA.
Yeah, and there's basically whatever bike you've got, there's somewhere for you to race it there.
Yeah.
Unless it's like a modern day 1000 or 600 or whatever. But that's what the other racing organizations are for.
Yep. Hey, have you done much mini bike racing?
Recently, no, but in the past, I've done 24 hours on little bikes, various little bikes. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah.
I love it. It's so much fun.
Well, yeah. And, back in the day when, in the early 90s when the YSR 50s came out. Remember those? YSR 50s? Well, I was a journalist, and Mitch Boehm, and I mean, everybody had a YSR 50, and we all stripped them off. We took the rear brake out of them. You know what I mean? We really went after it. And there's some guys like Rodney Fee. Do you remember Rodney Fee?
No.
He put like a 125 in his. It was crazy. It was a crazy time. So we raced these 50s, and they were fun, super fun, kind of slow, but super fun. And we raced them all over the country and just had a great time. It was just fun. And I used to think that racing minis was good for your riding, right? Good for your riding, good for your smoothness, blah, blah, blah. And I still believe that. But I now have a KX85 mini that was given to me in boxes by Michael Haenow, who is insanely fast on a mini. He's insane. So he gives me this KX85, and I finally get it all together, and I go racing mini moto with Colorado Mini Moto. I'm sorry, Rocky Mountain Mini Moto, and Haenow is starting a new series up here too, so Mini Moto. So I have the best time with Rocky Mountain Mini Moto. I just really have fun racing with my buddy Bill, and pretty much everybody's on CRF 150Rs, and I'm on a 2-stroke with a couple other people on 2-strokes, and it is super fun. So the reason I say this is that those of you out there who want to learn to go quicker, the mini moto is the one place I have found where I can really push.
Yeah.
Because, if I go to a school and I'm out pushing during open lapping and I fall down, it looks bad. It's not good to have an instructor fall down. And if I go do a track day on my MT10, which is my track bike, and I crash that doesn't look good. And if I go crash my Arma race bike racing for a plastic trophy, that doesn't look that great. But I can get on this mini motorbike, right, and push and run the thing off in there like, and just see how it all goes and catch it or not or whatever. And so I'm a big fan of mini moto, not just because it makes you smoother and all the things that you hear, but it's the one place where you can push. And I'm not saying you can't hurt yourself. I'm sure that you can hurt. I know you can hurt yourself on a mini moto, but it is the one place I'm on a Pirelli slick. I'm on slicks. I've got a very light bike. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready for it to push the front, spin the rear, whatever else. So I'm a big fan of mini moto. So I'm always looking for these hacks, right? We always want these hacks. Like how could we do something that's as possibly dangerous as motorcycling, but how could we do it well at the pace we choose? And that's the problem. We all have these personalities that we want to be really, really good, and we don't want to be last, right? I mean, I want to go racing and I want to be on the podium. So how can we do that? Well, one of the ways is to go mini motor racing, and that's what I'm seeing.
It's so much fun. It's so much fun.
Yep.
It's funny you mentioned being last. So here's a fun little anecdote from me. I had an SV650 that I bought as a street bike. I turned it into my track bike and I raced it. My very first, I took the Willow Springs New Racer School. Barely, I mean, I'd been riding in the canyons a bunch, felt pretty comfortable, got my knee down, thought I was big bad guy, whatever. Took the Willow Springs New Racer School, barely grazed by the skin of my teeth. I barely got my license because I was so nervous.
Yeah.
I was so completely nervous. My knee was nowhere near the ground. Like I said, barely scraped by. Got dead last by a country mile in my first ever race on that bike. Again, because I was nervous, I was timid, I was scared. And I remember thinking to myself back at the finish of that race, like, what are you doing? Like, you're better than this. Like, why were you so nervous and timid? And I kind of made it my personal goal to like get better. After that, I'm like, I know what to, well, no, I don't know what to do, but I know people who know what to do.
Right.
And they took me under their wing and here I am. But it was just so funny. Like that thought in my head of, I never want to be last again. Yeah. And I think I know how to achieve it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's motivating.
Yeah.
And there's truly techniques that'll get you there without taking more risk. And that is what the secret is. I mean, the secret is to realize what a champion does. A champion goes really, really quickly, but doesn't make a lot of mistakes. Especially doesn't make big mistakes and doesn't make mistakes under pressure. So like if you're boat racing, pick whatever you're doing, you have to go quickly, but you cannot make big mistakes. And Freddie Spencer made it very clear that you're going to make mistakes every lap. Every lap's going to have a mistake in it. But if the mistake is small and you can catch it early, that's the secret. And so a big part of Champ School is allowing people to know that, hey, you're going to make mistakes. It's actually unavoidable to make mistakes, because our personality is, I'm going to go to the brakes later if I can. I'm going to try to carry more entry speed. I'm going to try to load the tire more. That's our personality. And he or she who can quickly react to those mistakes, then the mistake is smaller when you have to fix it. And that's a big eye opener for a lot of people who come to the school, because they truly think that when they see the lap times of the MotoGP winners and they vary 6 or 7 tenths of a second from the first lap with a full fuel tank on a new tire to the last lap on no fuel with the used tire, and that varies 7 tenths, 8 tenths, people will think initially that rider does the exact same thing every lap, and they've just got very good at their turning points, their apex, and their exit points, when in fact data shows, and that's all we do is we study data shows that the secret is they get to the slowest part of the corner at the same speed every lap, whether they enter low and have to brake harder, whether they brake too early and have to brake lighter, whether they brake too late and have to brake more pressure further down in. They get the bike to the same speed at the slowest part of the corner. And that is the point at which the bike is pointed and has direction. They get to that spot. If it's an big exit corner, that spot's somewhere like in here. If it's a big 180, that spot is somewhere right here. So they get to that spot every single lap with the brakes on. And that's the secret, is getting to that spot with the brakes on. The brakes are what control that mile an hour down to the right spot. Mm-hmm. So that, to me, that is an eye opener for people to realize you're going to make mistakes, but he or she who can adjust those mistakes and adjust them early, and adjusting means almost always brakes or body and eyes, all that stuff, line, but that's the secret. And so it's kind of a neat way to be able to ride a motorcycle. Once you start to realize you can enter low, you can turn in too early, you can turn in too late, you can make all these mistakes, but you can adjust it and your lap time still looks strong. And you're nodding your head. Is that how are you riding at that level now, Troy? I mean, you are continuing the fast journalist legends, dude. So I'm proud of you for doing that. I mean, you really are. So
I
really
do
good.
not. I do not belong in any category that's called legends.
I've seen you ride. I've seen what you've done, brother. You do. You're in that category.
I'm very humbled by so many people, but I don't think I belong in the legends category. But I mean, I looked up to you for much of my, still do, but much of my early career. What I took away from what you just said was you can do a lot of things, but there are still some non-negotiables.
Yeah.
And you can relate to this, especially testing motorcycles for a living. There are some correlations to racing. Even if it's not a race bike, even if it's just some standard old street bike that you're going up and down the canyon with, doing whatever, there are some non-negotiables. And I mean, loading the tires correctly is a big one. Rushing corner entries applies no matter what, street, track, Harley Davidson, or R1. I would say the way I ride, it's that I've got to go to work on Monday.
Yep.
I've got a family that I want to be there for. And so going quickly and taking risks are separate things. They're not necessarily, of course, there's always stuff outside of your control, like you were just mentioning earlier, but the beauty of this sport is you follow the proper protocol and the speed will come, and fairly easily too.
Amen. Amen.
And so on top of that, following the proper protocol also from the job perspective gives you insight into what the motorcycle is doing underneath you. So the blah, blah, blah motorcycle that they just introduced for 2026, here's how it goes. Here's how it performs under these circumstances. When you're following those proper techniques, let's just say, I don't know, loading the tire, trail braking, loading the tire. You're on the gas, doing whatever, and it's time, the corner's coming up, whether it's on the street or on the racetrack. Well, I want to load the tire. What kind of the suspension, if I go use the brakes, I can tell, like, what's the compression or suspension damping like when I go on the brakes? Is it fighting me on turn in, on braking? Is it resisting me when I'm getting back on the gas? How's my corner entry going? These are all things that I think the bike feeds back to you if you're following the proper protocol in the first place. Now, we have the benefit of having ridden so many things that we have a database in our brain of feedback from various bikes to know what things should and shouldn't feel like, that many people probably don't have that database to feed off of. But even still, the way I've thought about it in my head, and sometimes when I've had the opportunity to mentor others, is everything's moving fast around you. The bike is moving fast because you're hauling ass. The things that are moving slow are your digits, your controls, and your eyes, and your brain. If you're looking up ahead of you, not straight down on the ground, you can see things coming way before they become a hazard. Your hands are moving slowly because jerky motions are what's dangerous. Despite the fact that on paper, on the surface, for the untrained eye, things appear to be coming at you at 1,000,000 miles an hour, everything is under control because of the proper techniques being taught, your hands moving at the proper rate, at the proper speed, in the proper spot where they need to be, maybe even ahead of time. You're one step ahead of the motorcycle and of the conditions, hopefully, if everything goes right. So, I mean, that's kind of how I approach riding. Racing is a little bit, there's a lot of similarities there, but just maybe more to a higher degree.
Yeah.
And a lot of that I learned from you. Not just you, but those of your same coaching staff. Others, Kent taught me a whole lot about riding bikes. You taught me about riding bikes. All of your staff, just people I've been around, and it's it's so that saying of you can be fast, or what's that? How's it go? You can be fast or you can be old. But like sometimes the fast ones don't make it to old age, and the old ones weren't necessarily fast.
Yeah.
It's. I'm sure I just screwed up that saying, but.
Well, I hope some of you old guys out there can ride fast. That'd be pretty good. But
that's the goal, right?
Yeah, it's the goal. And it's funny when when I was the boss at the magazines, like when I was a sport rider, Jason Black and Lance Holtz worked for me. Two great guys. We roomed together. We worked together. It was just so fun, crazy fun. But both those guys rode my TZ250 because I said, you have to know what perfect is. And I know that sounds crazy, but when you've ridden a well set up TZ250, and Steve Bagansky built mine, and it was just so good. And those guys both rode the 250. And the point was, and I made the point back then, I said, now you know what perfection is, what good handling is. It's a 200-pound motorcycle with about 80 horsepower. I said, now you can kind of judge this. And that's what you have to do as a journalist, because if you think about what you're doing as a journalist, you are writing information or video now that will have people spend tens of thousands of dollars possibly on a motorcycle. So for you to say the bike stands up mid-corner when you brake because you're grabbing the brakes and loading that fork spring so aggressively the bike stands up, you've just done something wrong. So it's kind of crazy how many journalists have come to our school, and they've come to our school because you have to be riding the bike the same exact way. You have to ride, if you're doing a 4-bike shootout, you have to ride them all the same way. If you are riding one bike in a different way and it's better or worse because of that, man, that is just such a disservice. And so I really took that seriously back in the day. And it's probably because I came from the readership. Readership. And now I'm into, a lot of us are into cars. I'm into cars. And now I'll read a car journalist, and I want to know what the car journalist has done. I want to know if he or she has raced cars, and if they have raced cars, have they done well? Because I will consider all that as I read this. And so that's why I'm so proud of you, Troy, for doing the racing and standing up and saying, you know what, I'm going to put my skills on the line. I'm going to put my reputation on the line. I'm going to go racing. And if I take last, I know that will be a factor in my journalism. But you've done well. But I really do applaud that. I do think journalists should be racing. I think they should be out there at the limit. I think they should ride as many bikes as they want. And it keeps you humble. Racing keeps you humble. And I know humility is a weird thing. I think we all think we're so humble, but I don't think we are. In fact, I have a joke. I say some of us have admitted that we're narcissists, and others of us have a much smaller vocabulary. That's my saying. So we're all pretty proud of ourselves, but you and I both have been humbled on the racetrack. I mean, I've been out with John Kaczynski on 600s. I've been with Jimmy Felice on 250s, Rich Oliver on 250s, Chuck Sorensen, Chris DeLucio, some of these guys that have beat me every year because they were riding better than I have. And I remember, I don't know if this happened to you, but back in about 94 or 5, I can't remember the year, Rob Muzzy called me up, and I'd done well. I'd been on some podiums in 600 Supersport, and 250s I'd won, and we were winning on the big bike with Arion Racing. And he called me up. He said, "Listen, I want to give you a tryout for to be on my race team, Muzzy Kawasaki." And I said, he goes, I want you to meet me at Riverside Racetrack, and it's just you and me and my team on a 750 Superstock bike. And so I go out to Riverside, and I rode around, and it was there in front of me. I could have said, I'd like to race this thing. I might have had to bring some sponsorship. We never got to that point. But I remember riding around. I did fine. Didn't do anything stupid. I think my lap times were fine. But I remember thinking, I am going to go race the best in the nation. And I've been on the racetrack with the best in the nation. I've been on the racetrack with Scott Russell and some of these guys on those super stock stuff, and Thomas Stevens and some of these guys. And I am not them. I'm not them. I'm not as quick as them for whatever reasons. I could probably figure it all out, but that's not what I wanted to do. And I remember thinking, I want to be a journalist. I want to race for fun. I made that decision pretty strongly because you and I have both been on track with the Anthony Goberts, right? The people that are just out of this world, the aliens. Mm-hmm. And you and I are fast in our own situations, fine. But there's always a couple people. And I remember going to Streets of Willow, and Scott Russell was going to come out, and he shows up in this white RX-7, a really cool guy. And I think he was national champion at that point, had won 4 Daytonas at that point. So he was the man. Mm-hmm. And I knew him a little bit, but hi, how are you? And he goes, "Hey, show me around the racetrack." And we're at the Streets of Willow, right? And I've been around there a million times. And so I'm like, okay, he's on a bike, I'm on a bike, off we go. And I got mirrors on my bike, it's a stock bike. And I ride around the first lap. He's right there. And I'm like, okay, he's first lap. And I go, I'm going to pick the pace up a little bit. I'll probably have to wait for him. Next lap, I go a little faster. He's right there. Third lap, I throw down everything I've got, just as fast as I could go around the Streets of Willow. Scott Russell's right there.
Right there.
Goes by, gives me a wave, leaves. And so I have a lot of appreciation for those people. But I think at our level, the enjoyment that we have being a journalist and being a racer is through the roof because of what we get to ride and who we get to meet.
Yeah. I want to talk about that in just a second, but I totally forgot. I need to take a commercial break because people who pay for this need to say something. So
appreciate them.
Let's take a quick break and hear from our sponsor. It's time for a mid-race pitboard check and a shout out to the all-new 2027 Honda CRF 450R. Nearly 10 pounds lighter with more power across the RPM range. Its redesigned chassis increases stability and flickability, giving you confidence when the track gets tough. And for that factory feel, the CRF 450R HRC Works Edition adds a titanium Yoshimura exhaust, specially coated in valve suspension, and more. Because when a bike is this dialed, the only competition is yourself. Learn more at powersports.honda.com. All right, we are back from the break. I can completely relate to everything you just mentioned. I was going to say something similar. Like, yeah, I guess I'm fairly quick. I'm proficient on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
But I'm not anywhere close to what those top guys are doing. And I, like you, figured that out very early on. I mean, I can go okay on a bike, but I am not anywhere where the top guys are, and I know that. And that's where this job comes in handy. Is we still get to do a lot of the cool, fun stuff under the guise of motorcycle journalism.
Yes. Yeah, it opens so many doors, and racing
Yeah.
opens had. And I was thinking about asking you this, and I will, because racing opens so many doors. Racing well opens so many doors. It got me onto some bikes all around the world
Hmm.
that no one else got a chance to ride. So has that happened for you? Has your racing prowess helped you in your career?
Absolutely. Oh
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, the hat I'm wearing right now is probably
yeah,
the culmination of that.
yeah,
So I mean, like getting to be the guinea pig
yeah,
crash test dummy development rider #1 for the Light Fighter project
yeah.
has been such a rewarding experience, and it came at the right time because I have that experience.
Right.
If that offer had been given to me early in my career when I didn't have the benefit of perspective to fall back on, it would have been worthless.
Yeah,
But being able to develop Light Fighter for the past 6+ years into the bike it's become now, and getting a podium under Josh Heron, where was that? I forget now. Oh, Barber, duh, Barber.
yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it is. I took the bike as far as I could take it. They took it the rest of the way, and they put it on the box. I
yeah.
mean, that's pretty freaking cool when you consider the very early days of that project were literally me and Brian, the CEO of Light Fighter, just the two of us pulling up in the back of his van, just like the classic story of we pulled up in our van, loaded the bike,
Yeah,
unloaded the bike, grabbed some tools out the back of the van, and set up
yeah,
our tent, and off we went racing.
yeah, yeah.
That was literally our start.
So cool.
Just the two of us, and
Yeah,
now look at them. They're at Moto America. They have got the giant rig with their bikes in it,
yeah,
the crew, the everything. So that's probably the coolest experience that I can provide that
yeah,
has come from as a result
yeah.
of the racing. But I mean, yeah, I've gotten to ride some really cool stuff, some awesome stuff over the years. Uh, it may not necessarily be because I've raced, but that probably didn't hurt anything either.
Didn't hurt. Yep.
Um,
Yeah. When they're looking at journalists to get on there, they're looking at people. People who are crashing things a lot. They don't get much of that because it just too much money, too expensive, and tough. So yeah, it definitely helped you.
I mean, early in my career, I was crashing a lot,
Oh
but
yeah, yeah,
I learned from those things, and
yeah,
unfortunately, my crashes just happened to be under the pressure of not the pressure, but under the watchful eyes of, well, Kent in that case,
yeah,
the public, other OEMs. Like it was a very, as far as this industry goes, it was a very public thing that I was crashing a lot. But I learned my lessons. I went back to the drawing board and had a talk with myself in the mirror, and I think that was also the start of when I took coaching very seriously.
yeah,
Saw you, saw Ken, saw
yeah.
others in this field as well. But um, this isn't about me. I want to hear more stories from you. What are some from?
Well,
Tell me some of the cool stuff from the magazine side. Like, give me some
I
cool magazine stories.
I'll tell you some. I'll tell you something funny that happened. I rode when I was not racing yet. I was a journalist, and it was probably 85 or so. And I'd met Eddie Lawson. He had come up to Laguna Seca and ridden with me and Dexter Ford. And Dexter Ford wrote the article, and it was lessons from Lawson or something like that. Riding around Lawson, and I had a Eddie Lawson replica helmet, And I mean, I just total fanboy. And we rode FC 750s around Laguna. That was really awesome. And so it got me on this list of journalists to ride Eddie's 500 at Riverside. And I'd never been around Riverside, but and I didn't. I mean, I didn't race. I was just a young kid. So I started doing the story with Lawson on his racing. So I was out there doing a story in Upland, talking to him about that, and we actually became friends. And so he says, "Hey, I got to show you something out in the garage." So we walk out to this huge garage he has, and over there on the side of the garage, covered up, is his YZF 500. That his #1 plate YZF 500, the bike that I was supposed to ride at Riverside like that next week. And he says, so, we talked, I'm just blown away. And I never, I didn't know anything about it. He goes, okay, so you need to ride this thing right now. I says, all right. So he gives me a helmet and he gets the thing started. And he says, just ride up this street. We're in Upland, California. He goes, just ride down this street right here and, get a feel for it. And so I get on it, I ride it down the street. I get it turned around. I ride it back and I pull up and he kills the motor. He goes, you pussy. I said, ride it. You got to rev this thing up. So he hops on it, goes down the street, wheelies, down the street, and then brings it back and puts me back on it, makes me rev it up. And that was an unknown story because then, of course, he says, listen, when you show up next week at Riverside, you cannot say you did this. So I show up at Riverside and there's Paul Carruthers there and I think Tim Carruthers and some of these other, other journalists, Danny Coe probably, and all these other journalists ready to ride it. And Eddie's standing there looking at me going, you don't say a word, because we had just ridden his 500 up and down Upland, this roads in Upland. So those are the kind of things that that are hilarious that you don't write about. When Eddie was done with his season, we had a big party at his house and he'd won the championship and we're drinking and I didn't drink much. So I was pretty much a lightweight and I don't think he drank much either, but we're drinking and Randy Momola has taken off all his clothes and climbed up the rock fireplace. You know what I mean? It's just a crazy ass party. and I might be conflagrating some of what really happened because Randy might have climbed up the fireplace at another time, but it was that kind of party. Everybody's drinking. Randy Mola's naked climbing up the fireplace. It's super funny. And then we decide that we have to get Jim's hot rod running or something. So we have to get his hot rod. So Eddie's like, we need to get some gasoline. So he goes, let's go get some gasoline. So he and I get on his Venture Royale and Yamaha touring bike. And we have enough brains to put our helmets on because I rode out to his house. I rode everywhere. He hands me a 5-gallon jug. He says, put this on your lap. He's on the Venture Royale. We ride drunk. And I won't ever admit that in public. We ride drunk to the gas station. We get to the gas station. He starts getting off the Venture Royale. I start getting off it. The Venture Royale high sides itself. It crashes over on the right side of it. We're laughing. I mean, we're trying to get some gasoline. We walk over. We pick it up. It takes both of us to pick it up. We pick it up. We flip it over to the other side. It crashes on the left side. We still haven't gotten any gasoline. So we finally get the Venture Royale onto the side stand. We fill up 5 gallons of gasoline. Then we ride back home to his house with 5 gallons of gasoline on a Venture Royale after we'd crashed it on both sides twice. So those are the kind of stories that you can't write about. But I think enough time has passed. We can talk about those ideas because
did you get the car started though?
Oh yeah, of course, got the car started. And, so those are the kind of things that happened back then, and it was a great time. I was single, in my mid-20s, late 20s, up into early 30s, and just a great time to be alive and be doing that stuff. We were paid a lot. We were paid good money as a journalist. The perks were unbelievable. We went on these staff tours that Art Friedman insisted upon. Art Friedman, great dude, racer, really into street riding, really into traffic survival, really got us thinking about that. But we always go on the staff tour where we would pick a destination and then we would either fly in and get bikes from one of the manufacturers or leave California on these staff tours. And I mean, they were epic. They were just epic tours, and we'd write about them and we'd all have our pieces and we'd all ride different bikes. And there was just Tim Carruthers went. He was just this hilarious writer. He'd write about things that were so funny. So the time I had at the magazines, there was always a feeling of being very, very fortunate and blessed to be there, and that it was fun. And I say that, Troy, because I walked into the press area at CODA a couple years ago. It was probably 9 years ago. And a couple of the magazine guys were sitting there, and I won't say the magazine. I won't say who it was. I walked up and go, hey, how's it going, guys? And they started bitching about how bad it was at the magazines and how about people at the magazines and the personalities, and they're bitching. And I listened to that for a while, and I shook my head, and I said out loud, I said, man, I am sorry that you guys screwed up such a good thing. And I couldn't help saying it. I really felt sorry for them and pissed for them that they screwed up such a good thing. Free bikes, free gas, free insurance. You got a van to drive if you need to, free gear, you got a voice to help people with if you want. And so I was just upset by that, and that really stuck with me. And I walked out of that press area thinking, man, there are people that can mess up anything. There are people that can mess up anything, and I have that, and I have that feeling at the school as well. You know, we invited you out as one of our instructors because of your personality, the way you feel about things, the fact that you got helped by people and you want to help people. That's the feeling at the school. And it's funny because we never fire any instructors. We just gather around the group that we want, and the group that will help people, the group that has the feeling of being blessed to do it. And you know, I don't know
Well,
what your
you never invited me back, so I don't know what that means.
well, that's only because you're too busy. But you're always invited back. Every time I see you, you're invited back. But there'll be times at the school where, you know, you're standing on 130-degree pavement, your boots are melting in, you're doing the braking drill again, and it could actually feel like work. It could actually feel like work. But even then, all of us truly are, this is still not work. This is still not laying underneath a tractor trailer with water dripping down your neck trying to fix electric lights like I used to do back in the day. So I still have a deep appreciation of being blessed to be in the industry and being very lucky. And I think the kids that I work for do too. They're, you know, Chris Paris said to me just last week about how great the job was. You know, it was kind of an offhanded comment, but here's the president of our company, truly the future of YCRS, the driver behind YCRS, on the instructor side, Chris Paris, saying how good it is. And so, brother man, if you know, not you, but if people can't appreciate what they have in this industry, they're in the wrong industry, man. They got to go do something else. They got to do something that truly is miserable, because it ain't motorcycling.
Amen to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Speaking of the magazines, so refresh my memory. Well, a couple of ways I want to go about this, or a couple of questions I want to ask. I'll start with this one. So, refresh my memory. Did Sport Rider come to you, or was that your idea?
Let's see. It was an idea put out while I was at Motorcyclist by Peterson Publishing, and the idea came probably from Art Friedman, where he saw sport bikes really accelerating. You know, no pun intended. I mean, I started the magazine in '84, and in '85 the GSXR came out in Europe. The VFR 750 had come out '84, I think. The FJ 1200. I mean, things were Ninja 900. Things were getting exciting. So as Art saw these sport bikes gathering steam and becoming a big push in the magazine, I think it was his idea to take to Dick Legue, who was our boss at Peterson, and say, we believe we could put on a sport bike only magazine. And I think that's how it came about. And I remember I was racing 250s in, where was I? Pocono, maybe? I can't remember. But I was at Brian Smith's house. He was best man at my wedding. My dear friend Brian Smith. I was at his house when the call came from Art Friedman and said, Sport Rider is a go. We want you to be the editor. We want you to start it. And, you know, I was over the moon at that point. I think that was probably 92-ish. Yeah.
So take us down that road.
Well, it was a dream, you know, to be able to start a magazine. At the time, you never know how great it was until you're done doing it. You know, hindsight is 2020. At the time, it was just this new challenge. How do I was a senior editor at Motorcyclist. I was you know, right hand man at Motorcyclist, and I was doing a lot of stuff, but I'd never put together a magazine. We got a great art director, Laura Morrison. We hired up some Siobhan Burns. Lance Holst came with me. We later got Jason Black, very soon got Jason Black involved. So that was the triumvirate. And we had the strength of Peterson Publishing. And Robert Peterson he was this, you know, Peterson Museum in California. He was this huge motorcycle and car fan. Any type of transportation, he just loved it. So we had a lot of backing. We had a lot of money. And it was a chance for me to focus on what I love to do, because like I would ride the cruisers and stuff. I would ride them and test them, but I never liked them. And I just never felt comfortable on them. I never felt that sitting back was the correct way to ride a motorcycle. I wrote a low bar is a happy bar. I mean, I just really loved racing and sport bikes. So that was my cup of tea. And then it was, okay, and here's something interesting, Troy, is that every editorial decision was based on, did Lance, Jason, and myself like it? Isn't that interesting? Because we were so into it. We were the readership and we were the enthusiasts. We all lived together. We all had a mountain of motorcycles in the garage. We rode every day. The worst days of our lives when we had to drive the van into work. Isn't that funny? Like I gotta drive the van. What God, why are you punishing me? It was just like one of those things. We rode every day. We rode on the weekends. We went up in the mountains with Kunitsugu, Milton, right, Stephen Michaelis, all these Willow Springs #1 plate holders. We all raced. Jason and Lance were not only class champions. Lance Holt was a #1 plate holder with Kazuyoshima on Kazu's bikes. I mean, just on and on. So it's all we did. It's all we wanted to do. It's what we did. We went everywhere on bikes. Bikes were what we did. So every editorial decision was based on, do we like it? And we didn't have reader surveys. We didn't give a crap about that. So we then decided,
you can swear, it's fine.
Can I?
You can,
good. We didn't give a shit. And then we decided, okay, what we want to have every bike torn down to the valve train. Every bike that comes to a test gets torn down to the valve train, because bike ownership is not just riding. It is how does the bike come apart? So then we had Kerry Andrew at Hypercycle, him, big time AMA national #1 plate holder as a tuner. So Kerry would come into the studio every month and tear all the bikes down to the valve train to get to see, what does it take? Are the shims above the buckets? Are there adjustable valve? Do you need shims? All that stuff. So that was pretty cool. People really dug that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, every bike got torn down to the valve train. Then we did riding techniques in every magazine, and we did an interview with a what we believed was a industry VIP, like a Gary Mathers or Yoshimura, people like that. We had an interview in every single magazine, and everything got run down the racetrack, of course, down the quarter mile, lap time at Willow. So we were very oriented that way. And then the photos we did from a very early time, and this sounds kind of preachy, but from a very early time, we would not have any knee dragging on the street. And if we had any knee dragging on the street, we would eliminate the yellow line. We would make it look like a racetrack or a closed course. That's why we took everything to a closed course so we could push it. I really believe from the get-go that if you're riding near that 100% on the street, you'll die doing it, and or hurt yourself badly. And I'd seen it happen. I'd seen it happen to people that I rode with. I've seen it happen to AMA, 250 national champion who died riding on the street too fast, and may not even have been their fault, but you're covering ground so quickly that the car waiting to pull out can't see you. So that was a big push at our magazine, is that there was going to be no knee dragging on the street, because it's not the message we wanted to get. Wheelies were going to be at the drag strip or wherever else. And, we broke the rule a couple times, but we did feel like we were carrying the burden of the industry. And I know that sounds kind of overdone, but if you think about, you're the first high performance monthly like that, big like that. And what you're doing is going to affect people. So we had that idea, like, man, we can't be doing a burnout in front of the sheriff's station or whatever else. We had to watch ourselves. So that was a big part of it as well. And we wanted the action to be really, 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 really fun and really fun to look at and well done.
I think you're going to appreciate this. Subconsciously maybe, but ever since I've been in this industry, on street rides I've been on, knee dragging hasn't been part of my MO, I guess.
Yeah.
Before I got in the industry, I had put my knee on the ground riding around in the canyons and whatever, but as far as I can remember, whenever I've been at magazines and now at Mo, when we go on street rides, yeah, we'll go at a pretty good clip, but my knee is nowhere near the ground.
Yep.
And I guess subconsciously, or maybe unbeknownst to me, that's a legacy that's from you.
Could very well be. Could very well be. And your pace can be very high, especially once you start to really understand trail braking and really understand direction, getting the bike at the slowest point, get it pointed. You will run very, Robert Tino Pietri, one of our lead instructors, talks about going and riding with people who are trying to drag their knee. And he's riding two up. He has a friend on the back and he's going quicker than they are with less risk. And that idea, when you see faster, safer in all of our advertising, it truly has to be that way. You just said, I've got a family to go home to. I've got a career. I've got a home. I want to get back and see them. But yet your personality is you want to ride quick, whatever that means. And once you get in this kind of champions riding way, I don't say it's a Nick Ienatsch way or a Chris Paris way. I say it's the way the best riders in the world ride, where their maximum lean angle is for a very short time. They get it in, point it, drive it in, point it, drive it in, point it, drive it. Once you get that going on, you can be very quick, nowhere near dragging your knee. And it's funny, Troy, there's two things that racing does for you. One, it puts in perspective what the street is. You've got guardrails, trees, all the crazy stuff you could hit. Drivers who have almost no training, certainly no focus level, yet you still want to street ride. It's still super fun. So there's part of that. The second thing racing does for you is it shows you you're not God's gift to motorcycling. So every time I meet an asshole, motorcycle a-hole, know-it-all, full of himself, blah, blah, blah. Every time I meet that person, usually a guy, I think to myself, they have not raced at a high enough level. They have not shown up. They have not shown up with their brand new top of the line motorcycle and got their asses handed to them by some 13-year-old kid on a 1980 RS 125. So I do think that racing does a lot for you. And one of the things it does for you is it puts the street in perspective, man. You cannot enter blind corners near the limit. You just cannot do it. You can do it, but it will eventually get you. And it'll be the elk stepped over into your lane. It'll be the car spun out. It'll be some excuse, but you are at the limit and you don't have that margin to stand the bike up, use more brake pressure, whatever else it is. So, if you and I go street riding together, I bet you money we are running the same exact way, the same exact pace. It's not slow. We're not saying go slow down. We're saying when we get to the mid corner, we are slow. That is probably a pretty good way to put it. Yeah.
I'm glad you're talking about this because I do want to talk about the pace.
Yep.
One of your most popular, most well-regarded, definitely one of your most impactful things you've written. But I think probably a lot of people watching this or listening to this have never heard about it. So remind folks, what is the pace?
Yeah, the pace came from literally Mitch Boehm and I yelling at each other, and might have been Kunitsugu there. I mean, yelling at each other, let's run that pace again on the street. And Troy, this came from probably late 80s when we put this all together. And it was street riding on Sundays, usually Sundays up to the crest, with Mitch Boehm, Kent Kunitsugu, Andy Milton, Lance, all these Willow Springs, literally Willow Springs, either number one plate holders like Kunitsugu, Milton, myself, or Willow Springs class winners. And this was back when 1,000 people would show up at Willow Springs to race. So these were some boys, right? Yet, so how fast could we have gone in the canyon? Like, how fast could you or top riders go in the canyons? It could be insane. You could be so fast in the canyons if you literally did not care what was around the corner or what was over the rise. So we did care, and we were all racing, and we all had a career. So we found this pace, and it was literally, we'd say, let's run this pace. And it was dependent on a couple things. And one thing it was dependent upon is not a lot of straightaway speed. So if you're soaking the throttle on the straightaways, first of all, your group doesn't stay together. If you're coming off the corner, whoop, 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 and cruising down the straightaways, you don't get those big straightaway tickets, because that's where the cops sit, on the straightaways. The rest of your group can catch up to the leader. You can reform the group. Number 3, you're not rushing into the next corner because you're not carrying a lot of speed. So the pace was not using the road racing technique of maximizing corner exits, revving the thing to red line in every possible gear you possibly can, carrying as much speed as you can. It was coming off the corner, enjoying the straightaways, looking around, thinking about the next corner, entering the next corner under pace. Chance to reform the group. within that group, the leader kept changing all the time. Leader would ride for a while, the way the next person back, Kunitsugu would lead for a while. So no one felt like, man, I got to pass this guy. No, we're going to be leading here pretty soon. So we ran in a group. There wasn't a lot of braking, and that's the mistake that the pace made, and I made as an editor. Because we weren't carrying a lot of straightaway speed, I didn't talk about the brakes a lot, but I wrote the Pace 2.0, and that's the one I would love people to read after they read the Pace. In the Pace 2.0, I said, mea culpa, we didn't run a lot of straightaway speed, but since I went racing, and I went racing at a high level since I wrote the Pace original, I started using the brakes a lot more. I started using the brakes for geometry, not just for speed. And I think that's where the Pace fell short, because people would read the Pace and go, oh, don't use your brakes, when in fact it's don't run a lot of straightaway speed. So I wrote the Pace 2.0, and that went through the same ideas, but it added brakes for geometry, brakes for contact patch enlargement, brakes for speed, certainly. But that's what really changed. And so everybody who would say, you know what, when I read the Pace, I thought you weren't using the brakes. I said, yeah, that was a mistake I made. We weren't running a lot of straightaway speed, so it didn't need a lot of brakes. But when we went downhill, when we got into some of the roads around the rock store that were very tight, it was definitely the brakes.
Sure.
But didn't come across right. So the Pace 2.0 is the one I would love people to read, and it's out there, and it's done well. And I still, people still walk up to me at the school and say, man, I really appreciate the Pace articles. It really helped my riding. And it came from riding with extremely talented people in such a manner that we wouldn't have crashes in the street.
And there's also an element there of putting your pride aside, right? And like you just said, your entire group at one point in time held number one plates, and yet hauling ass in a straight line didn't really do much. The fun comes in the corners.
Yeah.
And so
you knew that the leader wasn't going to try to stretch away from you. It was that respect. It was that mutual friendship. It was that truly joy of motorcycling. If you ride with joy, and that's actually, I don't know if you ever heard that at our school, Ride with Joy, but if you truly ride with joy, there is a pace that we all have found where it's magic. We're like, oh my God, I love this so much. And when you push up above that, it becomes a little bit hectic, a little bit rushed, a little bit dangerous, a little bit of oh no. As soon as you start to say oh no in your helmet or hold your breath, or so, that you got to come down off of that. And it's truly why I think you're probably the same. I don't show up for group rides. I want to ride with instructors at YCRS or graduates from YCRS. That's truly who I want to ride with, because the pace that we want to ride counts on trail braking. We may look like we entered the corner quite fast. But that's because we're going to use the brakes so far down in the corner. Our slowest speed is so late in the corner. It's before the decision point, the point at which you can see out of the corner. But if you ride with people who are trying to match your corner entry speed without the brakes, without the contact patch control and the geometry control, it's pretty tough. So it's kind of funny who I want to ride with joy. I don't want to be pushed. I don't want to look behind me and look in my mirror and see people almost run off the road because their entry speeds. So it's an interesting thing, and it's that leaving that margin that will and the margin riders is always mid corner. Having that margin mid corner, we get the bike in, get it slowed and turned, look up and see that this week the lane is clear. Come in next corner, get a point, look up, see this week there's an elk halfway in your lane. That's the secret. Get to that decision point in the corner with the brakes on, at least not accelerating. So, it sounds a little bit preachy, but you know what? This sport will kill you. This sport will kill you. It's killed 6,000 riders a year for the last 5 years in America. It's the highest fatalities we've had in Colorado. So the sport will kill you, and it's almost always rider error, something we are doing wrong. And if it's too high mid-corner speed, that means more lean angle. More lean angle means less points for braking, certainly in this case, accelerating as well, but braking. So man, as soon as you get with riders who chuck the thing off in there, carrying a lot of mid-corner speed on the street, I'm like, whoa, this is going to be so bad. And it may not be bad this weekend, but it eventually will be bad, because we've all seen the problems.
Yeah. No, I just got me thinking, we've never been on a street ride together.
What? Well, I know you come to Denver to visit your in-laws, or family, so come on down. I think I got something in the garage you can
We
ride.
should change that.
Yeah, I think I have
Yeah,
a Vespa for you.
love it. Love it. I was just in Italy. I love Vespas. I want to go back. You said a second ago about your TZ250, and I, unfortunately, I have never ridden one, but I have heard plenty of lore about it and two strokes in general. Just a quick take from you. I know I'm taking up a bunch of your time at this point. Compare, like, tell those like me who have not had the joy of experiencing that. Compare the two stroke versus four stroke differences, really. I mean, even a four stroke race bike, those are very well set up for what they are, but they're not ever going to be a dedicated TZ 250 race not derived race purpose machine. So, can you explain what is it about the differences between even a really well set up four stroke compared to a two stroke?
Yeah, the two stroke street bikes that we've all ridden, GT 750s and H2s and even NSR 250s, they're all relative. Well, I hate to use the term, but they're all relative garbage compared to a TZ 250 or an NS 250, the race bikes, because they are so pointed, they are so exact. Even sitting on them is just it's just a knife edge type of a feel. When you take it off the stand, it's 200 pounds. I mean, it's so dang good. And you think, oh, my four stroke's really light. It's in the threes. This is another 100 pounds lighter. So it's kind of insane. There's very little engine braking. So you're downshifting, not so much to help the bike slow, but for the power you need on the exit. So that's an interesting thing. They are a relatively narrow power band. So even, and that said, when you ride a multiple cylinder two stroke, like a 500, which I've been on, TZ750, I had a very good TZ750 race bike for quite a while that Rusty Bigley built. And when you're riding a multi-cylinder for two stroke, it is torquey. In fact, just before I rode Junior's 500 at Phillip Island in 2000, and just before I got on it, Stuart, the lead wrench there, big time crew chief, he said, "Nick, don't feel you're not doing a good job just because you're not using a lot of throttle." And what he meant was, as soon as you touch that throttle on that 500, that thing wants to run wide. I mean, it wants to open its radius. So once you get on a multi-cylinder 500, for instance, it'll make amazing amount of torque for its weight. But generally speaking, you're running a 250 from 9,500 to 12. And I hope you get to ride a good one. And if you want to ride a good one, I'll put you with Steve Bugansky and Sean, his rider Sean. They'll put you on one. He'll be a good one.
Twist my arm.
Yeah, I know. So then all of a sudden trail braking becomes a huge deal because engine braking isn't helping so much. So a lot of times with a four stroker, you will and should trail in, come off the brakes, let it coast for a moment to finish the corner. And that coasting for that little moment is becoming a bigger part of the school. So on a two stroke, you come off the brake lever and it feels like it accelerates because it has almost no engine braking. So that's kind of a fascinating thing. You're always riding with two fingers on the clutch lever. And you'll see that in 250 racing from back in the day. We always had two fingers on the clutch lever because it'll start to squeak, which is C's, and it'll go bad. It won't just go whack and lock up. It goes you hear that, just that last, what's that, a second of that warning? So you're like fingers on the brake, on the clutch lever. So that's part of it. And you can't make a lot of mistakes on lines because you don't have the torque to pull you out of these mistakes. So your lines become very exact. Mistakes become almost always a downshift to fix them. The starts are really high revving affairs, whereas a four stroke, you can torque it off. So all that said, I just rode the Kramer Twin and an RS 660. What's the name? Trofeo.
Yeah.
Right. I rode a Trofeo and the Kramer Twin 2 weeks ago that Kurt Dimmick let me ride up at Pueblo, my local track. And I was blown away, dude. I was just so impressed. I was so impressed. And I can remember back at Willow, back in the early 90s, like 92, 93, that was when the 600s finally caught the 250s. And it would become, before that, we could beat the 600s. Back in the early 90s, the 600s caught up. So I'm a big fan of 600s. And I think that and I know this is blasphemy, but if you want to really hassle up your life, race at 250. If you really wanna, if you really want to make your weekends this miserable. No, I'm kind of kidding, but I still have my TZ 250, my 95, and it's up on a pedestal in my garage, and I can look at it and walk by it. And everybody's like, dude, bring your 250 out to Arma. And I'm like, dude, I'm not racing that anywhere without a full tuner, a guy taking care of everything, rebuilding it. Like Bagansky, my tuner, Steve Bagansky, he would pull the pistons out overnight. He would have the heads off between sessions. He would just, and without that, I'm not interested. So that's the problem with 250s. And I know they're shouting at me, but it's the problem. I have a 600. I turn the key, I push the button, it goes vroom, and then I ride it. I turn it off, I plug in the battery charger, and I go away. And so, if you can ride a 250 who someone else's, Troy, make sure it is prepped. Because, dude, if it's not prepped and it's got an air leak and it seizes on you, it is instant, because it almost never seizes under power. It almost always seizes off power. So you run it down the hill like at Laguna Seca into turn 8, for instance, and you go out the corkscrew, second gear or third gear, fourth gear, and then you close the throttle and it seizes.
And away you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to say my favorite two-stroke is somebody else's.
Yes, there. Boom. and it's funny because even with that said, I'm my next bike I'm going to buy is a GT 750 water buffalo, we call them. I'm going to get a water buffalo and cafe it out and enjoy that. But because I still really enjoy them, and my KX85 is a two-stroker, so I enjoy them. There's something about them, how light they are, especially how light they are, how they get in the corner. I really dig them. And that said, I did put a smart carb on my KX85. Dude, I am so impressed. Whoever smart carb, whoever you are, genius. I am so happy. I would tune that KX85, the carburetor, and change the jets every session, because I couldn't tell if it was lean, rich. I couldn't get a plug shop at a mini track to get a plug shop. I couldn't look at the plug. I was just like, I had no tuner to help me, no Bagansky. I'm doing this myself, and I'm like, this isn't fun. I got the smart carb. I stuck it on there. I went click, 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 and I run it.
And I had an 85 two-stroke as well. Mm-hmm. When it was working, it was great.
Yeah, I love it.
It wasn't working that well very often, though. And so
smart carb.
Yeah, well, it's long gone at this point. But
since we're talking, you know how if you're into hot rods, you can replace your carburetor with a throttle body fuel injection unit. Pauly makes them. All these people make these throttle body fuel injection units. You can replace your carburetor and put a intake manifold that has throttle, intake port injection, right? So Yoshimura, Muzzy, somebody, Revzilla, I don't care who, somebody needs to make universal fuel injection kits for carbureted motorcycles, or unless they already are. But I need a fuel injection kit for my GSX-R 750 that I am so sick of cleaning pilot jets on. Thank you for listening.
That's a great idea. I mean, I have it's funny you mention that. I have a Datsun 510 that I'm definition of slowly putting back together, and the thought crossed my mind of doing the EFI conversion on it. And I've seen those throttle bodies that look like carburetors with the fuel rails inside of them, the injectors inside of them, but they look like carbs. So
come on, motorcycle.
Yeah.
Hey, the other thing we need to do, since we're talking, is motorcycle world needs to approach Pike's Peak and get our own Pike's Peak week. I know that the cars think we're kind of in their way, and I don't blame them. And we had some crashes on the mountain that hurt people. We even had a crash of some guy coming back down the mountain on his bike, and he lost the front and sent it over the edge, and somebody else hit his bike coming down the mountain. So you can see how the car people might get sick of that. That's a very bad mistake, but it happened, and it did. But what if we did our own Pike's Peak week and made it obviously a big deal, and then we had YCRS in charge of the rider training, because even some very, very fast riders have crashed on the mountain, and there's no room for error there. If you've been up it, have you been up it, Troy?
I've flown off of it.
Oh, have you? So there's no room for error. And so there's been some very good riders who have crashed. Sounds like you did too.
I have, yes.
So
And I'm a pretty bad rider because I flew off the side of that mountain.
that is bad, my friend. I mean, honestly, truly could have killed you, and that's what ended motorcycling up there is too many deaths. So
Mm-hmm.
what if we put together a Pikes Peak, and it could be half Pikes Peak. I don't know what it could be, but I'd love to get YCRS involved and talk to people about this, especially rushing corner entry, having corner entry rushed on the mountain. And I've got one of my instructors, Michael Haynow, is a track record holder on the mountain, so I've got firsthand advice. And I just went up Pikes Peak with him on Champ Tour 2 weeks ago. So I think we could run a Pikes Peak, but we'd have to get with everybody and say, listen, everybody, this is not an open racetrack where we can make mistakes. What are your thoughts?
The thoughts go back to, well, you're going to need a hell of an insurance policy and a hell of a legal team to make that happen.
Yep.
Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. It has nothing to do with the riding. It has to do everything with insurance and lawsuits.
Yep. Yeah, that's true. And that gets reflected in the entry fees and stuff like that. But it's frustrating that we as an industry say, oh, we can no longer run on Pikes Peak. Well, no, actually, we as an industry, if that's truly what we want to do, and we think that's an important thing, that's the kind of thing we could put together. But you're right, but that's what insurance companies do. They look at the risks and they assess the prices. And we run a motorcycle riding school for all these years with insurance. So anyway, I would just thought, since we were talking about what we should do, that's what we should do.
Put the legalities and the insurance aside for a second. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
As someone who's done it, it doesn't get more real world examples of what you teach than being there.
Yes.
I mean,
yeah. Haynow has said that. Haynow has said, that what we're teaching is exactly what people need to hear. And if you even, well, anyway, there's a lot of smaller ideas, but I'm not here to editorialize on that. I'm just saying that if we felt Pikes Peak was something that we should do as an industry, it's totally doable, and YCRS would want to be involved.
That being said, I've got no idea what they would say, what the organization would say if a professional school like yourself, like the ones you run, were to approach them. And I have no idea how that would actually go. I suppose it wouldn't hurt to at least knock on the door and start a conversation. It could very well be met with, "Oh, of course not, no way."
Yeah.
But you what's that saying? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yeah. And you got to think, what's paying for Pikes Peak? I mean, that's probably tax dollars at work, and Colorado riders are taxpayers, and there's entry fees and blah blah blah. But I guess that's how I feel about the industry, the motorcycle industry, is that we're allowed to do things on our own and make those big steps if we want to. And since we were talking about what we should do Pikes Peak.
Let's do it. So where do you stand on, as someone who came up through the two-stroke era and then saw the rise of the four-stroke era, and now you're seeing the rise of the electronics era, where do you stand on modern rider aids on motorcycles?
I'm a big fan, huge fan. I mean, I just think that anything we can do to mitigate the risk, other than to quit riding or go slow, we should do. And I just put my money where my mouth is. I sold my FC1. I had an 06 FC1 that I did track days on and street riding, toured on. And I bought an MT10 to take its place. And MT10 comes with, cruise control, which is nice, but it's got TC, wheelie control, yaw control. So, you know what? I would like to have those nannies. I know for a fact I got saved in some gravel in South Carolina. I think I was in South Carolina on a GS 1300, right? Brand new GS 1300. Had it off into a corner, hit gravel that I did not see, same exact color as the pavement, and the thing went sideways, and it saved me. Electronics saved me. So I'm a big fan of all the aids, and I really like them. The wheelie control, for those who like to wheelie, just turn that thing off and enjoy yourself, and pay the consequences if the cop sees you. But so I'm a big fan of those. I'm all for it.
ABS?
Yeah, for sure, absolutely, dude. I mean, you pop over the hill on a road, and it's got fresh gravel, and there's cars stopped at the road work sign, and you have to stop in the gravel. Big fan. I mean, I'm a big fan. I've run Harley Davidsons during demos off into the dirt and grab the brakes, which is not a verb we use, but you grab the brakes when you're freaked out, and you grab the brakes in the dirt. Harley stopped, and I'm just a big fan. I just And it's not that I don't have bikes without it. I've got a lot of bikes without all that stuff, but my MT10 I bought on purpose because I wanted those things.
What about quick shifters?
Big fan. I just think they feel so cool. I just love using the quick shifter. I wish there was a 10 speed. I do. I wish there was a 10 speed on some of these bikes. Just the way it feels, it's just so cool. I have this HP2, that BMW.
Is that with the boxer engine?
Yeah.
I love that bike.
The best transmission anybody has ever ridden. RC30, best transmission, right? Things like that, where you wish you had a 10 speed with a quick shifter. It's just tick, 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 tick. I love it. Now the auto blip, I'll make fun of because we all work so hard on blipping with the brakes on and matching all those things. So I'll make fun of the auto blip, but I still secretly think it's pretty damn cool. And again, you can turn that stuff off. I know enough of my instructors have said to the students that their auto blip has failed, and you better learn to blip because your auto blip will fail occasionally. And Rossi blipped his own downshifts for a long time, even after auto blip, because he wanted to put the clutch plates back together in a certain way. And I remember talking to Cameron Bobia about it, big time, won everything all the time. And Cam said, no, you should still teach it because your auto blip will break and you want to control that clutch. So, but I'm a fan. I like all that stuff.
That gets me to my point here is, okay, you like the rider aids, I like the rider aids, but we both came up on completely analog bikes and had to learn the hard way. All of these electronic aids, the newer rider can not learn those lessons through the fact that these aids are just hiding it from, they're taking care of it for them instead of them having to experience it themselves.
Yeah, that's a good point, Troy. Because if you get quick at a track day on a rider aid bike, and then your friends say, "Hey, we're going to go endurance racing," and all they can afford is a 2003 GSX R750, then you won't have those rider aids. And I know I've been back to back on a racetrack in a TC car and a non-TC car, and I spun the non-TC car after I got out of the TC car, and that was obviously my fault. But I just had gotten used to a certain throttle setting in a certain spot, and I spun the car. Luckily I didn't hurt it. I just spun and got to going. But I really had to talk with myself, saying, "What are you doing? You still have to feed in that power." So there's a certain point to that, and it's probably this us talking about it is going to save someone who's listening to this who jumps on their friend's older bike without the aids and is smooth how they load it, because that will bite you. And I've got, like, my Zero has ABS but no TC, and most of the bikes I have ABS and TC, new bikes. So I have to think about when I'm on the Zero, right? I got to be smoother. So bringing it up is a good point. Good.
The ABS issue too. I mean, I'm a fan. I think, and I say this in my reviews, ABS for the vast majority of people and situations is a great thing. However, there are those moments where, even on the street, where on various bikes we're testing, I'll use the brakes into a corner or wherever, and the ABS will kick in, and I'm like, why? There's no need for the ABS right now. I can brake. There's no harm in the amount of brake pressure I'm putting in right now. I'm loading the suspension. Everything is, as far as I can tell, just fine. Why is the ABS kicking in right now? Like I said, 9 times out of 10, I'm a fan of ABS. But there will be a moment where, depending on the bike and the conditions, where I'm like, the ABS was the hindering thing here.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I agree with you in the rear. In the front, everybody should just put this in your brain. As fast as my instructors are, they will very, very rarely ABS the front. So that's an interesting point. And I mean, this is Chris Paris, Cody Wyman, Isaiah Robertino, top people. They'll rarely ABS the front, the rear all the time, but the rear we don't really care about. It's just kind of dragging along back there doing nothing.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting thing. The
And I'm talking about the street
Yeah,
in
that's
some of my
interesting. And
examples.
that's a calibration thing, don't you think? That's a calibration thing where
Sure.
the engineers
Sure.
didn't get it right.
Sure.
And that's the problem when the ABS when it enters ABS, it cycles forward. So that's the problem. And I'm sure your heart went into your mouth a couple times, right? Right? Things not
Yeah, of
slowing. Like
course.
what the? Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
That said, I will give a lot of modern bikes credit.
yeah.
The advancement in all of these technologies is getting so good.
Yeah.
I've ridden early TC bikes where it was just cut, cut, cut,
Yeah.
cut, cut.
Yeah.
And you're like, just turn this crap off.
Yeah.
But now it ABS too. Bonk, 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 bonk. But now a lot of these bikes from a bunch of manufacturers, the integration of TC, of ABS, all of these wheelie control is so
Yeah.
smooth and progressive. You're like, this is great. Like it hardly interrupts the riding experience.
Yeah. So if you want to talk about what we need, I'll be fairly succinct here. Is manufacturers, what we actually don't need more horsepower. There's like 4 riders in the country that can get the most out of 1,000cc motorcycle. So we don't actually need more horsepower. We electronics are really good. Da da da. What we really need is to be able to get the frickin' bodywork off these motorcycles without breaking a tab, and without spending literally $250 at
Amen.
the dealership just to get the bodywork off. Manufacturers. So I have had race bikes that go 200 miles an hour at Daytona. They go 200 miles an hour at Daytona, and the bodywork comes off with 8 Zeus fasteners in about 3 minutes. The bodywork comes off a 200 mile an hour race bike in 3 minutes. Yet to take your R6 or whatever sport bike, full dress sport bike in, costs you a lot of money, and the brake tabs, it's a pain in the ass. We fix them all the time. So guys, you out the manufacturers, you got to get with it on this. And you might think, oh, it's airflow and other stuff. You got to fix it, because I tried to take the bodywork off my FJR 1300. It's a 2008 FJR 1300. There are hidden tabs that I broke. There are pieces I threw away. I got so tired of it. So we don't need more horsepower. They could be lighter. They could be less expensive, but they need to be a lot simpler with bodywork.
You said you rode a Kramer the other day.
Yes.
If you had the opportunity to take off the bodywork of a Kramer, as a former Kramer owner, it's all Zeus fasteners or 4 or 6 mil Allen head every now and then. Yeah. I've taken the bodywork on and off my various Kramers in 10 minutes. It's
100%.
And that's
100%.
Being extremely careful too.
Yeah. 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 We can't buy a street bike that we can strip down. And it's funny. then you take it to the dealership and you're paying $200 to get the bodywork off. Yeah. It's a pain in the ass. And, I didn't take off the bodywork. Mark Dimmick took off the bodywork, but I was watching that. It's funny. He's a big time mechanic up at Aces in Denver. And I grabbed him. I said, hey, we should do a story on this. I mean, what kind of money are we spending at the dealership to get the bodywork off, and why? And we talked about it, because it's frustrating. Yeah. It's truly a reason that I don't want a new sport bike.
I mean, yeah, I agree. Let me move on with another question. You can be as lengthy or as short as you want with this one. I think I already know the answer, but let me ask it anyway. As the coach, what has been the biggest misconception you realized everyday street and track day riders have about going fast safely? And that even applies to the top level champions you've coached as well.
By the time they're top level, they're realizing this, but coming into the sport, you could truly believe the faster you want to go, the less brakes you use, when it's literally the opposite. The faster you approach the corner, because the corner will not change for you, the more brakes you need. That means earlier, more pressure further down in the corner. Brake duration increases the faster you go. I went to Laguna Seca, and I got the picture on my phone, and I was at Laguna, and I was there for some other reason, but I went to the gift shop, and in the gift shop, there's a red t-shirt hanging there, and it said, the crew asked me how the brakes were, and I told them, I don't know, I never used them. As if that was really good. And I took a picture of and I sent it to all my crew, and I said, the t-shirt of the loser, because you will be so slow without using the brakes. And so that is the number one thing, is that people feel like I'm going to use the brakes at the last possible minute, I'm going to grab them as hard as I can. I'm going to let go of them as soon as possible, when it's actually duration of braking that starts to become a huge part of your life as you get quicker. So that's a big deal. That people don't realize that brakes not just control the speed, they control the compression of your fork and the size of your contact patch. And I remember back in the day, they put data on a very fast rider and who didn't believe in trail braking, and he would let go of the brakes and flick it to get the numbers back, to get his geometry back, and he couldn't let go of the brakes and flick it quick enough into certain types of corners to get his numbers back. What you do with trail braking is you compress the fork springs and you trade the braking compression of the fork spring for the cornering compression, and the fork doesn't rebound and then reload. So that is even at the top level, there was a gentleman who didn't understand that and was trying to flick it to get the load in. So that's a big part of it. The second part of it is how of your answer, my answer to your question is how much effort goes into this mentally, physically. Cody Wyman talks about winning the race weeks before the race. He's so far ahead of it physically, what he does workout wise, what he does mentally, being ahead of having the track maps and thinking about this and watching the videos and studying your notes from last year and then making notes. Well, Ken Hill and I were at with Elkhart Lake, and we were talking to Matt Mladen, and Matt, he'd already won there like 8 times. And Matt said, yeah, the kids don't take this seriously enough. And he says, hang on a second. He went into his motorhome, came back out with a notebook full of notes from that weekend, right? He'd already won there 8 times. So the effort that you put into doing this, and the only reason I can be so serious about it is because the sport will kill you. It'll kill you. It'll put you in a wheelchair. It'll ruin your body and career and mind. It can be so bad. That's why I can say to you, not you, Troy, but your listeners, is that this is something you should take extremely seriously. And the more seriously you take it, the more fun it becomes. And sure. Ryan Burke, one of our instructors, right, 6-time MRA #1 plate holder up here in Colorado, he owns, still has 23 track records, just insane. Berkey said that he was a little nervous to take the school back in the day because he didn't want to ruin the fun of it. He didn't want to make it too processional and too much engineering. And he said after the school, he couldn't believe how much more fun it got because he had a process of doing it. And, you're nodding your head. Did that enter into you after the school?
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, like you just said, having a process.
Yeah.
It makes everything click.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Last question. And
can I say one more thing?
Oh, sure.
I also will say that there's a term called best practices, and you'll hear it when you come to the school, best practices. And it's one reason we called it the Champions Riding School, because we truly wanted to evolve with the champions. We wanted to be able to hire another coach and evolve with that coach's thoughts and ideas. And so we wanted to always evolve. And so best practices came in, and that's one of the ways that the instructor crew stays respectful of everybody, because everybody has a voice at the table, because nobody at the table is an idiot. And when you say, be cautious of groupthink, I say you've got the wrong group. When you have a group like we have at YCRS and Chip Spalding, Keith Culver, Lamore, the guys that you've met before, Josh Siegel, when you have Chris Paris for sure, when you have that as your group, and then you add in the Wymans and Robert Tino and all these, Isaiah Davis, Burke, all these guys. When you have the right group, then best practices come to the fore, because there's respect for everybody in the group. So when one guy in the group says, you know what, that thing we did right after lunch was a little bit of a waste of time. We kind of spent 8 minutes on that, and we should have been doing this. The rest of them listen to that, and we all decide, is that the best practice? And that's kind of a nice way to run a business, man, when you have that group that's always pushing. So if you're going to be a motorcycle rider, you need to look at best practices. What are the best in the world doing to do what you want to do? If that's iron butt, what are the best iron butt riders doing? What are the best people on GSs doing to win the Dakar? I mean, all down the line. In our case, it's street riding. What are the best street riders doing? And that's what we try to do.
Love it. Love it. Love it. All right. Let me finish off here with looking into the future. So as we look at the current landscape of sport bikes and track riding, what trends excite you the most, and what concerns you about where the motorcycle industry and culture is heading?
Well, since we're speaking plainly, if we continue to teach new riders what we're teaching new riders in America, we're never going to grow significantly. We'll just kind of idle along, and the dads who have kids, the kids will ride. But boy, what we're teaching new riders is so wrong in several places. It's provably wrong. It leads directly to the two crashes. The place we're dying most is running wide in corners, and we're not teaching trail brake. We're teaching to get off the brakes before we steer. We're teaching power through the corner. If you're accelerating your motorcycle, your radius is opening no matter what, no matter who you are. You'll add lean angle to keep it from opening, and now you high side or low side, whatever your choice is. So yeah, so industry, if we keep doing that, it's not going to go any bigger. And it's not, let's talk to Nick. He has all the ideas. No, just do what the best riders in the world do. That's all we do at our school. It's provable. I can prove it to you in a parking lot. Give me 15 minutes on a motorcycle. You don't even have to ride. You can ride behind me, and I'll show you what's being taught to new riders and why it doesn't work. And the problem with things that don't work is they get fatal at speed. So since we're speaking plainly about this whole deal, that is what I see on the horizon. We're starting to see some motion from some of the new rider schools, but it's not what we want. We got with Washington State motorcycle training, and this guy named Chris, and he came over from England, and he came to the school, and he heard our message, and he said, man, this is what my new rider groups need to hear. For the last 16 months, I think now, he has been teaching a YCRS curriculum in Washington State. You all need to get a hold of WMST. You need to call Chris. You need to talk to him about what he's seen, what's happened. The percentages of crashes have gone down. The number of people getting their licenses and buying motorcycles has gone up. What we teach works for any rider, and that's what has to happen. So if we don't turn this ship around, industry, it'll just be what it is. And oh gosh, we're not selling the bikes we used to. It must be because kids don't like risk. No, kids realize when they're hearing the wrong thing and it doesn't work, and the first time they ride their motorcycle above 18 miles an hour, which is taught in the parking lot, first time they run their motorcycle into a corner at 40 miles an hour and get off the brakes before they turn, and the front rebounds and the bike runs across the center line, and there happens to be no car there that kills them, and they realize I'm not good at this, they quit riding and they sell their bike. And you just got to pull up Craigslist and look for a 3-year-old motorcycle. It's got 800 miles on it for sale with a oil filter and all my gear. Why? Because they've scared themselves doing what's being taught to new rider school, and it's provable. I can prove it. It's got to change. So we're trying to change it. We're the only tier 3 new rider training school, MSF new rider training school in the world. And we're the only one because years ago I got a hold of the MSF and said, we got to do some changes. We want to help you. We want to become a tier 3 school, but the ship is not turning. And there'll be someone who dies this weekend on a motorcycle because of what they taught in new rider schools. And we know that because the sons and daughters of our instructors have gone to the new rider schools. So we got to change that. The thing I see positive is what e-bikes are doing. Andy, my buddy Andy, Leisner, thank you, Andy Leisner. He took an electric bike to a birthday party for his son or daughter. I can't remember what. Pulls up in a pickup truck, and the parents are doing their thing. It's a big birthday party, and he puts his son on there, daughter. He or she rides around, and pretty soon all the kids want to ride the electric bike. There's no clutch. There's no noise. The parents think it's just super fun. They plunked a bicycle helmet on them, put them some gloves, and they all rode the e-bike. So out of all those kids, a few of them are going to come and ride motorcycles and realize that this is the coolest thing you could ever possibly do, besides maybe race airplanes. Bob Hanna said that's more fun, but he said racing motorcycles is the second. So of all those kids that rode the little e-bike around during Andy Leisner's son's or daughter's birthday are going to ride motorcycles. So I do see that as a positive. But if we don't fix this new rider problem, if we don't fix the information out there, like don't break in a corner, that's 100% wrong. We've got to break in the corner. If we don't teach riders, they've got to ride covering the brake lever. You're riding down the road with your fingers here. You're accelerating, but your fingers are always out. Always out. If we don't teach that, if we teach people to ride like this, so they got to reach to the brake lever, they're a second late. That's 88 feet at 60 miles an hour that they're late. Now they're crashing in intersections. The number one crash. Second way we're killing ourselves. So Troy, dude, one of the reasons that we get along and one of the reasons I'm on here, it's because you see what the truth is. You see what we teach. You see what the best riders in the world are doing, what the best riders in the country are doing. When you do those things, you do really, really well. You get home from street rides. You are on the podium at high level racing. So you know what we've got to do to change it. And I'm now saying it because this is my life. I met my wife at a racetrack. My best friends are racers. It's my living. It's where I make a living. It's where my instructors make a living. And it's upsetting us that this is not changing. It's got to change.
Well, as it's funny you mentioned the little kids on e-bikes, because just this past weekend, both of my kids got to experience an electric bicycle for the first time. One of our friends had one. Both of my kids, who can ride a regular bicycle just fine, but haven't expressed any interest in what daddy does.
Mm-hmm.
They hopped on, especially my little one, but both of them. They go down the street. They come back. Dad, can we get one of these?
Nice. Yeah.
So
very positive thing. And I've done quite a few stories over the years on kids who've had their lives saved by motorcycling. And I know that my parents dangled motorcycling over my head to have me get good grades, to have me be a good kid. Sure. I mean, because there is nothing like it when you do it right. And that's the thing. I have to add the caveat. There's nothing like it when you do it right, because so many parents that are thinking about this will think, man, I don't want my kid to hurt himself on a motorcycle, but we're telling you, when you do it correctly, it goes really, really well. And that's a big part of Champ U. And I just got to throw it in. I'm not plugging it, but yet I'm plugging it. Champions University was a chance for us to say to new riders, we did 6 or 7 hour video on what you should know as a new rider, track day riders, 7-hour video, street riders, street people who have quit riding on the street because it got scary. We did a Champ U street, so people can realize, you know what? People aren't trying to kill you. They're just really, really bad at driving. So don't be there when things go wrong. That's really the message there. But we talked 6 or 7 hours on that. And then, of course, the core techniques and a fitness one. So we did Champ U. And what I'm saying is, for parents who want their kid to ride, they need to buy Champ U New Rider. Just buy it for $60, $70. I don't know what it is. $70, study it yourself. Don't sit your kid in front of it. They might get bored. Study it yourself. And all of a sudden you can coach your kid to be correct. Like you will coach them at riding like this with the brake lever there. This is wrong because you're a second away from brakes. That's wrong. That's too quick. That's wrong. That's too quick. You can coach your kid. And all of a sudden your kid's having the time of their lives. Of course, you dress them in all the gear, elbow pads, all the gear. And it's a game changer. It's a life changer. And there's something about motorcycling, dude, that just, there's nothing like it. I ride literally every day because of the health benefits and the fact that I just love it.
Preaching to the choir, Nick.
Come on. Let's grow our choir. Let's grow our choir.
Well, Nick, it's been, wow. We're over 2 hours in now. I love it. But I'm sure you have other things you need to do with your day. And I feel like I've taken up too much of it already. I'm glad that the fire has not spread to your part of the woods yet, so that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes, clearly we could go on and on and on, and that just means we'll have to have you back to do another one of these sometime in the future. But there you have it.
We'll try
the world according to Nick.
Yeah. It's my pleasure. It really is. And, for you to get YCRS on here and give us a bigger voice, spread the message. Someone's going to hear this and go, oh my gosh, I'm going to buy Champ U. They're going to see something on Champ U that changes their life, right? They'll see the braking graphs. They'll see all this stuff, the initial brakes, all that. They'll see something. And this is how it grows, this is how the sport grows. And so for someone with a voice like yours to have us on, it means the world to me, to our whole gang. And, I didn't race airplanes. I didn't jump out of helicopters. I didn't do any of that stuff, but I did ride motorcycles, and this is the coolest thing I've ever done. I just love doing it. I can't wait to do it more. I told my young instructors that I enjoy it more at my age than I used to, because as you get closer to the end of your life, you look at things that really give you that pleasure and that enjoyment. And motorcycle riding is one of them. Family is another one. Animals, all that stuff. So I have to always caveat it with, it has to be done correctly, or it could be the worst thing you've ever done. So folks, it can be done correctly at a very high level all your life, I promise you, but the specifics of that are very narrow.
Tell the folks out there how to find this information.
Yeah, we're champschool.com, Yamaha Champions Riding School. We're everywhere. We're on Facebook. We have a lot of videos out there on YouTube. but we have Champ U, Champ, capital U, Champions University. You can jump on there. Champschool.com is our website. All the instructors are involved. Anytime you see an instructor with Champ U on there or Champ School, talk to them about it, because this is our life. We know for a fact how well it can go, how good the highs can be, and we are ready to spread that message to you, whether it's through video, personal instruction, whatever you need.
Nick Ienatsch, I thank you so much for your time. Always a pleasure talking to you.
Well, thanks, brother. I've told you before, but I'm super proud of you personally. Just super proud. I think you're chasing that fast journalist racer dream. I think it's just super proud. Way to go.
What do I even say about Nick that he hasn't already said himself? Just a wealth of information when it comes to riding a motorcycle proficiently, and you don't need to ride on the racetrack to understand or even apply these lessons. It applies everywhere. So just go over to Champion School, look at the information they have on there. If you can't attend a school in person, I highly suggest you do so. It has transformed the way I ride bikes, so I hate to sound preachy about it, but it does work, and it is going to school for something as so serious as this and yet so fun as this. I mean, it's an investment in yourself. But that wraps up our interview with Nick Ienatsch. Let's see. Let's take care of some more housekeeping items. Rating us. So if you're watching us on YouTube, leave us a comment, leave us a thumbs up, say something about your riding techniques. If you have learned anything from any riding school, but especially the Yamaha Champions Riding School, Nick and the gang over there, let us know. Tell us what you've learned about riding from him, from them, from anybody. If you haven't, really give it a good look. If you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Music, any of those methods, leave us a rating there as well. Leave us a comment there as well. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know what you think about this episode and riding techniques. And this was a long one, gang, but I think there was a lot of good information inside of it. So that's about it as far as I know. So with that, I want to thank everyone once again for watching this episode 30 of the Bore and Stoke podcast, brought to you by the Honda CRF 450R. And with that, we will catch you on the next episode. See you later. And that's a wrap for this episode of the Bore and Stoke podcast, brought to you by Honda Power Sports and the all-new 2027 CRF 450R lineup. Built to grab whole shots and win motos, the CRF 450R and HRC Works Edition are lighter and more powerful, with a redesigned chassis for increased stability, flickability, and confidence when the track gets tough. Discover the 2027 CRF 450R lineup at powersports.honda.com. So good, your only competition is yourself.